Hey everyone. I'm just getting set up for our Talkin' Trash installment with Anna Bogusky. She is a sustainable fashion activist and author of the blog Mrs. American Made. And I'm a little bit early, so I'm just trying to make sure that it has time to send to people. So this is kind of just the hello. This is just kind of the holding time while Instagram sends out the notifications, so some people can join us. But she'll be joining us very shortly in a few minutes from Boulder, Colorado. I'm in Springfield. Oh, there she is. I know I'm early, so take your time. Take your time, Anna. I just wanted to make sure I got everything set up right. Yep, here it is. Let's see. Let's see if this will set up here. I think I accepted it. There you are. Hello.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I don't know. I've never done this, so I wasn't sure.
I'm sort of a newbie. I mean, I've done a couple, but they've changed they've changed different features since last spring even. So I can't keep up with this social media stuff, but I'm really happy you're here, and I know, and thank you. I realized I jumped on a little early, so I didn't want you to. I just want to make sure everything was set up right.
So, same here. So.
Yeah. Well, so I know that I'm just gonna send this. I sent notifications to various people. I think Instagram is also sending out, from what I understand, sending out some notifications that this is live. But we'll also, if it's all right with you, and I'm gonna keep the replay up and then also put it on YouTube. So, because I find it's easy too for a lot of people to watch the replay.
Yeah, it's a little easier to understand, but yeah.
Right. So if you're just joining us, this is the next installment of Talkin' Trash with Ash, and basically we talk about creative reuse, sustainable fashion, just various ways that we can help the earth, right? And so I'm really, really excited. Anna and I connected back last spring, before all the summertime craziness. And I was so happy that she wanted to take the time to talk with me today. She is a sustainable fashion activist and the author of this really amazing blog that I think you should definitely check out, called Mrs. American Made. It's just beautifully designed. So I guess before we start, I have my little silly icebreaker questions, if that's okay. And then we'll jump into okay. So are you a tea or coffee drinker?
So I'm both. I really like both, but coffee is a necessity. Tea is sort of just a fun thing. I actually have a little tea right now. I don't have tea every day, but I must have coffee. I mean, anyone in my family would say, like, don't talk to mom before she has her coffee.
Right. Yeah. I feel like the same way. I like tea if I want to get fancy, but coffee.
Yeah, it's like a little treat.
Right. Are you a cat or dog person or other animal person, or not?
Again, I like both, but I do have a cat who may or may not choose to make a cameo today. We'll see.
Right. Yeah, I have two cats behind me that might jump up. They tend to do that. So I tried to lock them out, but they might scratch on the door. So I kept it anyway. Okay. Obviously you're in Boulder, Colorado, so you love the mountains. Are you also an ocean person too, or are you feel more strongly about one or the other?
I like to look at both of them. We're right here at the base of a little ridge, so we could actually, it's really nice. I could go up and go for a hike or anything. I also like the water. I mean, we moved here from Florida, but I don't like to get wet. Like, I don't like to get my hair wet. So I guess I got to go with mountains on that one.
Mountain. My family, just so you know, I know exactly what you're talking about, because I have family that live in Lafayette and in Niwot, and they used to live in Louisville. So I love that part of the country. So maybe sometime I can meet you, because I come out to visit my family because I'm in Virginia, but I would have loved to live in Colorado someday. It's so beautiful.
That would be amazing. Let me
Um,
know. Let me know if you're here.
yeah, no, I definitely will. Okay, well, I mentioned the Mrs. American Made blog, and that you recently, as I understand, redesigned it. Is that
Yeah,
accurate?
I like to sort of refresh in the fall sometimes. I started it in 2012, I think. So it's been going for a while, and I started it originally because um, I'd started to personally look for made in America clothing, and I was sort of struggling. I found a lot of things for men, like the sort of hipster look, and I don't know. Anyway, I started looking for myself, and I thought as I found things, I would share the brands and things that I found. That led me to sustainable fashion, sort of learning about how things are made and the impact and the waste in the industry. But what I was going to say is, yes, I recently sort of redesigned it into three categories because I found I had sort of the older posts with all of my outfit of the day and a lot of style tips. I had a lot of sort of over 40 um, or in that range, ladies looking for style tips and sort of fashion advice, like how do I put this outfit together? And um, I put that under a style tips hashtag. Then I also, as the blog progressed, I started sort of, getting a little braver and posting DIY projects. And so I would dye some things or make a thing here or there, some jewelry or pick up a sewing pattern. Not very often, but I tagged all those. And so that's another category since I've really I'm in deep in the DIY right now.
That's
and then
I can't wait to hear about this. I love DIY
yeah,
things.
so I
So
have a pile of things here to just quickly
oh
show
yeah, yeah,
again.
please, please, please. Oh,
Um,
that's great.
and what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. And then the main category, which to me now is the most important, is sustainability and sustainable fashion and tips and, sort of articles and a little bit about the handbook that I designed. So yeah, so now the blog is, you can find things more easily, I think.
It's yeah, it's very I have a sister who works in, I forget what it's called. It's the psychology of how you organize a website to find things, and
Like
I
UX and
yes, a usability, I think, or something like that. Um and I just really like, because immediately I found your handbook that is
great.
really
It's
everybody needs.
working.
I know, exactly. It was, and I opened it and I just was like looking through and I'm like, everyone needs to see this. So do you want to talk a little bit? I
Thank
mean,
you.
we're kind of going all over the place, which is how I
No, that's
am.
fine. That's fine.
But you recently, well, not, I don't know if it was super recent, but it seemed like it was somewhat recent. You just got your master's in environmental science, right? Um,
Yeah, yeah.
so
So that was a funny story in and of itself. I was doing the blog, and as I said, I personally was turning to more sustainable options, trying to find data and trying to learn more. And I was approached by my daughter's school at the time to come teach a class on sustainable fashion. And I'm really shy. I'm very, I don't really like talking in front of large groups. And I thought, could I do this? It's a large group, but they're children, I'm like sort of going back and forth. And at some point, I thought, I don't feel like I know enough to teach anybody yet. I really want to learn more. So I started looking for, just how could I learn more about sustainable fashion? I found a program, certificate program in the UK, which I did, and I found a couple of other things, but not too much. And I wasn't able to go off and go to school, but
mhm.
I got lucky and I found this brand new program right here at CU, University of Colorado Boulder. Called the Masters of the Environment, which is a master's degree in environmental studies. It's more of a professional degree, so it's for people who might be looking to go out and get a job, not necessarily go and get a PhD and do more research and what have you. But I thought this is perfect, so I applied. I was accepted. I was super excited when I got accepted.
Yeah, that.
But the program was mostly geared toward what the section I got into was sustainable systems in food. So what I ended up having to do was sort of work on projects in parallel, food and fiber, which was really interesting. And I learned a lot about the big picture and how clothing manufacturing fits into that, which I think was super useful. And then for my thesis, really my capstone project, I created the handbook, which I have right here.
Oh yeah, yes, it's
um,
beautiful.
Thank
It's
you.
yeah.
So it's online, but I also had a bunch of them printed, and I'm trying to flip the pages so you can see there's more than one.
Right, right. No,
So yeah, so I did, all the research, all the design, a lot of the photography. Some of the photography was by my son, who is like a photographer,
oh,
professional. And yeah, I just sort of thought like, I wanted to sort of educate these younger shoppers, which would have been the class that I taught at my daughter's high school, how to shop more sustainably. By the end of the program, I realized shopping itself was not the answer, but you learn a lot in the handbook about what is sustainability, and what can you do to reduce your impact, and what kinds of fabrics to look for. And so yeah, it's online, and I do have, like I said, a few limited copies that I have left over.
well, I'm going to be, because one thing that struck me as I was doing background research on you, there's just so many awesome topics that we could talk about, that you have so many different wonderful things to talk about, and interests, and talents. And I've been gathering a couple of links, like for instance, so the link to your online handbook, and then also the podcast, the Flipping the Green Switch, that you answer questions such as, and I had to write this down, or like we'll get it wrong, I'm sure. So like, for instance, how, where did I write? Oh, I typed it. It's over here. How do you balance being like on trend and stylish with staying sustainable? Because as a lot of people probably watching know, fast fashion is the fact that we get new trends, like not just once a year, it's like all the time now. And so people are just used to buying disposable clothes, and it's just creating more and more waste. Much more about this than I do. But
no, you did that great. I watched your series of
oh,
Fast Fashion 1 and 2. Yeah, those were
oh,
great.
oh, thank you. Because I hope I gave enough credit to Resource Depot in West Palm Beach, Florida, because one of the previous interviews was with the executive director there, Jennifer O'Brien, and I got most of their tips from there. And so I tried to make sure I credited them, because it kind of opened my eyes a lot over the summer, or over, I guess it was in the spring, it doesn't matter. When I went to one of their online workshops, which is one of the nice things about COVID times, is that people are putting more things online to attend.
Yeah.
So I basically ripped off of them, and because I was just like, I want more people to see this information that they presented in this workshop. So
Fantastic. Yeah.
so thank you, but yeah, it wasn't it wasn't me. And so anyway, the couple of questions, like, is thrifting the answer to fast fashion, and all of these topics that you can of course elaborate on, but I also think I'm going to put a link to the podcast for folks that want to listen to your conversation with them, because aren't they part of the people who run the podcast, part of the
Yeah,
environmental
they were part
program?
of our program. I graduated with them. So yeah, they're doing, they're actually starting up again in the fall now too. I think doing more interviews. That was one of their last ones in their sort of spring. And
Right.
then, yeah, not a lot happens over the summer, but yeah, they're doing really cool things too. And so I really wanted to raise awareness and educate people on, what I knew, but I felt like, do I know the right things? There's that whole questionable sort of factoid, right? That fashion is the second most polluting, industry in the world. And then there are people who say there's nothing to back that up. There's no research. They can't find out where it came from. Some people say it came from an old textile study that said textiles were the second most. But regardless of where it came from, one of the major problems I think in the industry is the very little transparency that there is. You know, everyone wants to keep their information secret, and then because the factories may not be doing everything 100% the way they should be, they don't want that to get out, and it's all, you know, very hush hush. And then people trying to do research don't have access to, you know, hard facts. So whether it's the second most or the fifth most, or it doesn't really matter. I think that the larger issue is that it is having a huge impact, and we're creating lots and lots of waste by all that fast fashion and just, you know, sort of over consumption.
Right. So let's see. I want to make sure, because I also want to be respectful of your time. So you talked, I've found a little bit about you talking about what influences your personal style. So what kind of background, either people or, you know, places or things inspire your personal style?
So I do have a little bit about that on the blog that I had forgotten I wrote years ago when I was asked that question while I was blogging. But it's, I guess I mean, I love navy blue. That's like my favorite color. And if you look in my closet or you look at my car, or you look at my things, there's a lot of blue.
Right.
To start with, that sort of guides a lot of my decisions. But I think I've always gravitated toward a more classic, maybe feminine look. I'm petite, but I'm kind of curvy. So I think I'm hard to dress. If I don't dress myself the right way, I tend to look shorter, and I don't want that. So, you know, I kind of picked up some style habits, I guess you might call them, from my grandmothers. Both my grandmothers, my mother's mother and my father's mother, were super stylish ladies. You know, my mother's mother would sweep on the porch with her skirt and her heels, you know, and like pearls maybe. So they were ultra feminine and very like defined the waist, and, you know, in a classic way, very girly. So I think I picked up that from them. And then I also grew up in Massachusetts. It was, you know, like kind of conservative, preppy in the sort of preppy days back then. I can't say I've ever gone for like wild fashion, wild colors.
That's okay. Yeah. I'm more like that.
It's just, well, I find it's like what makes me happy, you know.
Right.
It's like I find something, I love it, I like the way it looks, then I feel better.
Right.
And I have been super influenced by Stacey London.
Yeah,
and
I
what
love
not to
her.
wear.
Oh, I love her so much. I have her
love
book on my coffee table.
Totally.
One of her books, I guess.
Yeah, it's an amazing style, or was an amazing style guide, still is really. I mean, just even the way she has evolved. But I remember she said one time, like, dress the body you have.
Mm-hmm.
And that just was like a light bulb. I was like, okay, well, whether I, you know, I'm this size, or I was that size, or whatever, you know, it's like, well, today I look like this, and today I'm going to make this look the best that I can. So
right.
That's kind of my everyday theory.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for that. So what would you suggest? So I know, and I like that I noticed that you highlighted this a little bit on your blog. I mean, probably a lot. I haven't read every post.
There's a lot.
But, you know, for somebody who, you know, some people who are watching this love clothes, some are, you know, like so about it, but how would you what kind of tips would you give somebody, just like small baby steps to start being a little more sustainable in their clothing choices? Because I know it can be overwhelming. And I was with a friend the other day who was like almost embarrassed to say, well, I buy from here and I know Ashley's not into, and I'm like, no, I buy brand new clothes too. I'm not perfect. Like by no means, but it's better to do a little than nothing. So yeah.
Right. I've read like that whole like progress, not perfection thing, right? It's and like exactly what you said is what I tell people. Baby steps. It can be super overwhelming. I think the handbook actually really is helpful if there's something that speaks to you. You know, some people are very touched by the garment worker story, and they want to do something about, you know, the labor injustices happening. So they, you know, look up how can they do better in that sense. Some people are, you know, just water is my thing, and I want clean water, and I want to research my brands to make sure that the water, you know, they're not returning the chemicals to the water stream, or they're using less water, or they, you know, you can take on different ways to care for your clothing. And the handbook also talks about that too, but you can find a few tips online on how to have a smaller impact as you care for the clothes that you already have.
Mm-hmm.
So there are lots of different ways to come at it, and you can basically, you know, wherever you're at in your journey, take one more step, you know. And I think a lot of people taking smaller steps in the right direction can do a lot of good, you know. So that's always my advice, is like, you know, it depends like what you care about, and
Right.
then that can inform your next step.
I really like that approach, because then you can kind of, I'm the type where I'm like, well, this upsets me, this upsets me, this upsets me. I'm like, I want to do it, and you can't do everything, but to really focus,
No.
if, you know, like if there's something in particular that really strikes a chord with you, to take that avenue. Is that what is that? Am I interpreting like, okay? Because yeah, that's a really good way for someone like me to not get overwhelmed.
Yeah, no, totally. And it's huge. And I wouldn't say like, you know, oh, I want to, you know, someone comes to me and says, I want a sustainable wardrobe. We'll throw away all your clothes. We'll go
Yeah.
get you, you know, sustainable. That is not sustainable.
Right.
You know, they say the most sustainable piece of clothing is the one you already own. So when I started back in 2012, I wanted more of a made in America wardrobe, but I didn't get rid of everything. I basically went replacing things little by little, where now I can say most of my clothing, maybe all of my clothes, I don't buy anything new that's not made here, is made domestically. But that took me a long time, many little steps along the way. So
Okay. And so so for you, what was, I don't want to put words in your mouth. So what was your avenue into sustainable fashion then? What
so
struck a
I
chord with you?
started with that. I started with the Made in America, and I wanted to do better for our economy. Was my, back then, my, you know, main reason for doing it. I went from there to discovering that maybe Made in America wasn't 100% always the best, because of, you know, what was happening in the factories in LA, and you know, different areas where workers are, even in our country, mistreated, even though we have laws to protect them. And there's there are a lot of activists right now working on improving conditions, and a big bill has been passed in California, which I think will help, but you know, it's still not perfect. So I
Right.
went from that to then learning about different fibers, and how the impact of those, especially through the program in school, you know, which ones require more water to grow, and which ones are actually, you know, fossil fuels that have a limited, you know, they're limited resources and hard to break down. So I moved from Made in USA to Made in USA natural fibers, and then I went to secondhand Made in USA,
Right.
made from natural fibers, to,
Right.
you know, it's been quite the evolution, to most recently making things myself, so that I know the workers' conditions, I know the backbreaking work that, you know, and the time that it takes to make the clothing. So I would say it started with that, and that's why the blog is still called Mrs. American Made, even though it's not a political thing, it's not a, you know, even economical at this point. It's like much bigger.
Okay, great. No, that's really that's really inspiring. I would love for you, if you'd like, to talk a little more about your design, upcycling and designing new pieces of clothing using repurposed, you know, materials. And I know that you have partnered with Arts Parts Creative Reuse Center. I feel like I know a little more about creative reuse centers than sustainable fashion as far as like in my in my wheelhouse. So it's really neat
Yeah,
to see that both of those are going together. But and then also you're a Thread Up ambassador too, which like anyway, I'm going in a bunch of different directions, but I was like, oh, this is exciting. So can you talk a little about your designs that you're making?
yeah, that's totally how I found your blog and the your Instagram, these live shows, because during the mask orders, we started making masks, and I found like scraps of fabric around the house and made a few, and then friends were like, oh, those are so cute, do you have more? And I found Art Parts before that, but I hadn't been there very much. So we went and we bought little tiny, you can make masks out of the smallest scraps, and we bought all of the things there. This is ribbon, some of them would have like the straps from like t-shirt material, and I found their wall. They have a rainbow wall of beautiful fabrics. And we made hundreds of masks. My daughter and I gave and mailed off to friends, my mom in Florida. And, so at one point I found this fabric, which as you can see is blue.
Right, yeah.
Right? I found that one, and I was like, you know what? I don't want to make 20 masks out of this. I'm going to try to make a top for myself. And that set the whole thing rolling. I would go there about once a week and just scour the fabrics. And, I was really excited that these were things that would have ended up in a landfill, otherwise. And, I just like fabric, beautiful fabric from there.
So you made those all of
these.
wow.
All this. And then this, I was there one day, and my mom happened to FaceTime me while I was at Art Parts, and I showed her this little scrap of lace, and she's like, oh my God, you have to buy that.
Right.
I can totally picture it in a little sort of,
do you mind holding that up a little more, because a little longer? Because they look so beautiful. And at first I thought you were just showing like clothing that you inspire. So just to reiterate for everyone, you made those pieces. They're very beautiful.
And don't be fooled by the tag. I put a little tag inside that says one of a kind.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Wow. Those are gorgeous.
And so this one, I had to line it obviously, but this lace I just could not, pass over. Then I have like these pieces here, which I thought were, I wanted to make pants. I made a lot of tops and I wanted to get into pants. So I found this beautiful twill and I made this pair of lander pants. So I started to get into the independent pattern maker companies, not just the big four, the McCalls, the Vogue, etc.
Right.
And really fell in love with those. And I wanted to make pants. So I made those lander pants, and I made some of the Persephone sailor, sort of the new like wide leg sailor pants. Those I did not make with fabric from there, but all of the zippers I bought there, and buttons. I mean, they had all those resources that would have gone to waste. I was like, whoa, this is so cool. So this is a cute little top that I bought. This beautiful,
I like the back design too. Yeah, that's cool.
It was a beautiful broderie fabric. I think you can see the embroidery on it. And
yeah,
it was like a sort of more of a Pepto-Bismol pink. So I decided to dye that fabric, and I really like the color that it came out.
Right.
So I don't know if you can see this. This one's a dress, so I'm going to sort of pan up. But this was a really fun piece of fabric that I found because it had this border.
Oh, yeah.
That I made the bottom ruffle on this dress. This is a deer and doe myosotis pattern. And also the rickrack, all the notions and the buttons I found at Art Parts. So I was like a kid in a candy store when I found this place. I started making, this is also from there, but like this has a matching mask and scrunchie.
Oh, nice.
It was like branching out into the accessories. This is not from Art Parts, but this is a curtain that
Oh,
used
wow.
to hang. We moved in the last 2 years. We moved from the house we've lived in Boulder for 15 years. So that was a curtain in one of our rooms, and I don't know, just kind of nostalgic. Uh,
And that looks like
this,
a beautiful like summer piece. I love that color and
yeah,
the style too with the yeah.
yeah.
I see I'm not very knowledgeable about clothing making, so I'm trying
I've
to
learned so much. This has
yeah.
been such an incredible journey learning about how clothing is made because I learned how to sew. I mean, I'm from the era where we took home ec, we took cooking, we had to make, an apron in school. I made myself a lot of like party dresses and prom dresses in the 80s,
Oh,
but
oh wow.
I will admit they were not um, beautifully fitted or finished. They were like one time use, and I was, done with that one, moving on to the next party. So this I don't know, phase of sewing in my life has been very different, where I really want to make all of those things that you saw are most of them are French seamed, which means you sew one seam, you flip it, and then you enclose that seam in another so
Okay.
that they're really made to last. And like I said earlier, on the shorter side. So a lot of clothes I have to shorten or maybe tuck in or disguise that they're too long for me. But all of these things, they fit me,
Right.
much better. So as I was saying about finishing seams, I made this little sort of corduroy chore
Oh,
jacket.
oh wow. And I like the
And
buttons too.
the buttons are from Art Parts. The fabric is not, but this fabric is, where I finished all of the inside seams
Oh,
with this little plaid cotton.
oh
So
that's
instead of buying, this actually has my little
oh nice.
tag. Um, Instead of buying that pre-made bias tape, you can easily make it out of anything, and something contrasting or something cute, something like that one that shows up on the inside. So that was kind of a fun new technique that I learned specifically for that jacket. And then I made like little things. These are just little bags
Oh
made out
nice.
like upholstery fabric samples, those big like books. They just
Right.
rip out the sample, and then you
Right.
have a little piece like this one too. This was a fun project. It's a little fanny pack.
Oh cute.
That's the fennel fanny pack. A lot of these patterns are the independent pattern makers, and you can just print your PDF at home and you're good to go. Made this little headband.
Well,
This
you
is
say it like it's simple. I tried to teach and that's not my forte. Like I can sew a pillow and that's about it. So like I'm
that
not
is that's a first step, a straight line. Then that
right,
line starts to curve and
right,
you're on
right.
your way.
Um, so I guess my next question would be, are you planning on selling any of your pieces at any point?
That's a really good question. So I have all of these things that I've made are following patterns that, somebody created, and you buy these online, and basically you agree to not profit from there. So I couldn't make like 10, of these jackets and go out and sell them.
I see.
So I think people do take pieces that maybe didn't come out to fit them, or maybe it's not their favorite color or something. They sell the sort of one-off piece, or maybe give it to someone who is a similar size or something. But I am working on my own pattern,
Oh,
which
nice.
I've seen a lot of just sort of simple little tops like this that
Right.
are almost like a woven t-shirt, but it doesn't look right on me because I need something at the waist. So I'm working on different ways to make them. I don't know if you can see these
Yeah,
like
I
little
can.
darts in the back. Yeah, a little bit. Anyway, I'm working on this pattern of my own, where I may be able to either sell the pattern or sell tops made um, in the pattern. We'll see.
Right.
It's
No,
it's just for like kind of for fun. It's sort
right.
of the next step in my evolution as a sewist.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah, because your pieces look so beautiful, and then you have all of the knowledge about repurposing and environmental impact and everything. Um, and you also, I've noticed from your blog, you will take maybe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you'll take pieces of clothing and then add different, like what you call upcycling, add different embellishments and things to just sort of enhance or change up. Like if you get tired of one, if a person gets tired of their dress, they can transform it without having to necessarily toss it or
Right.
donate it.
Exactly. I love that. I love that. I do. I took a sort of a tunic that I had that I was kind of sick of, and I was seeing all the little ruffle sleeves, and I took the sort of a few inches off the bottom and I added them to the sleeves, and it became a top with then the, you know, sort of a ruffly sleeve. One time I washed a tunic that I shouldn't have,
Right.
um, put it in the dryer, and it came out a little smaller, so I had, you know, make little changes like that. My son's torn jeans when he left for college. I was like, oh, I miss him. So I made a little tote bag from the jeans, from the pant legs,
Oh,
that I,
that's
you know, took around. It's like, oh, a little something.
yeah.
But yeah, I definitely like to upcycle things. And I think the more I learn about how these, you know, like well-made garments are constructed, the more I can apply that to just my own creative freedom, which it's been really helpful.
Okay, well, wonderful. Well, this is, I feel like I have a bunch of other questions, so I just want to keep track and I don't want to go over my time. But I mean, I guess my next, well, one of my last questions would be, how can people, well, I'm going to list links to contact for people to follow your blog and to access your handbook and everything in the podcast, but are there projects coming up that you would like to tell people about, or any, like anything that you would like to, it's on the horizon? Or how can can they contact you, even like if somebody's watching this and is inspired, you know, by what you're doing and would like, would you encourage them to contact, I mean, that kind of thing?
Yeah, with the new blog redesign, I somehow lost the email link on my blog. I'm trying to add that, but
Right.
any, you know, I can get what are they called, like DMs on Instagram?
Yes. Yeah.
What's it called?
I mean,
Yeah, they can
yeah,
definitely.
I'm, I guess what you call, I'm like right on the edge of generation X slash millennial. I'm 40. And so I have a lot of friends that are like, oh, why don't you know how to use this stuff or whatever? And I'm just like, oh, like it's like a whole other job to try to learn how to use all this
Oh
stuff.
yeah. So I just call my kids. I just call them. I'm like, hey, can you help me with this?
Right. So, but yeah, I just, cause someone's like, oh, why can't I just DM you? Or people will send me things and I'm like, I don't know how to send this to someone. like,
I know.
like, anyway. Um,
But yeah,
so, but yeah.
Instagram DM works fine. You know, I have an email, Anna@fearlesscottage.com, which is what I'm trying to add to the blog right now. But maybe this week one of my kids will be able to help
Well,
out.
I mean, so, and your kids, you mentioned that your son is a photographer, and I thought maybe I read your daughter too, or not, but,
Yeah.
um, like, I mean, being a mom, I have and I'm blanking at how, I'm a great mom. I can't remember how old my kids are. No, they're, they're 9 and 5
Oh,
boys, and they're just like, you know, they take up a lot of my time. And
yeah.
so how, I mean, I love how you've incorporated, and I know your kids are older, but like they've been, you know, part of your journey too. Like I saw a
Yeah.
beautiful picture of your daughter and you with the upcycled clothing that you worked
I
on.
kind of got her a little bit into sewing too. Not, she's not a you know, freak like I am. She's just a very positive person, and she'll try anything. So she was like,
Right.
"Oh yeah, sure, I'll do that." But yeah, no, my kids are hard. I call them my kids, but they're adults now. You know, my son's in his 20s. He's 20. I don't even know. There you go. 25 or 26, and he's married.
Yeah.
And my daughter is going to be 22 in a couple of weeks. So they are definitely adults. She's in college, and he finished and did, you know, major in photography, and is a, you know, sort of assistant slash photographer, you know, himself. And my daughter takes a lot of my pictures, but mostly because by default she doesn't want to be a photographer, and she is not super excited about taking my picture, but she's just the one who's around and, you
Right.
know, hey, come shoot a picture, just press the button.
Yes. Well, they're beautiful photos. So I thought they were very like I love all of the backgrounds and the way that you're posed and style. You know, it's just very nice. So and one more question, if I may, if that's okay. So I'm inspired by the fact that you went back to school later, because that's something that I think I want to do at some point. Do you have any, like, I love how your career, because we didn't even touch on it, but you had started in advertising and that was your career. And then now you're just in a whole other zone. And
I know. My yeah, professional slash educational journey has just been all over the place. I actually majored in math in college. So
wow.
I don't know what I was thinking. I just was like, yeah, I love math. That's my favorite subject. I'll do more of it.
You should. I mean, my husband majored in math and now he's an attorney. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah, so I don't know. But yeah, if you're passionate about it and you love it, like, it makes sense.
I did really enjoy it. You know,
Right.
I would dream and solve my problems while I was, you know, at night, just like doing math in my sleep and stuff. But
right.
then I finished school and I was like, what am I going to do with this? And I happened to intern at an ad agency in Miami. And through my internship, they offered to hire me, you know, in the middle of it. They're like, you can finish the internship or you can take this position that we have open right now. And I was like, do the same thing for free or do the same thing for money? I'll take the job.
Right.
And
yeah.
that was it. I worked there for, I don't know, a few years. And then I moved to another agency where I worked for, well, really until the day before my son was born. I called in sick the day I had him. And then I was mom, you know, like you said, it's a lot of time, and I wanted to give that to them and I could. So it was really wonderful. But then my son went away to college, as I said, and I always said I would get a dog when he went to college,
right.
but I didn't. My daughter just started taking up that time that I devoted to him. And she's like, I want to do this activity. I want to do that activity. Will you drive me to dance? Will you drive me to theater?
Right.
Like,
right.
Okay.
Right.
And then somehow I just was like, I got to do something for myself. And that was the blog. And that was my, the whole adventure of learning sustainable fashion, from, you know, doing it on my own to that, the certificate that I earned at the Sustainable Fashion Academy in the UK. And then the program.
Right.
And it was a little weird. I was the second oldest person in the program when, you know, the year that I did it. And it was a small, like, I don't remember, it was like 50 to 100 people cohort. So everybody knew everybody. And, you know, what
was the experience like, I mean, because I plan to go back. Well, one of my dreams is to become a music therapist, and actually Colorado has all the music therapy programs, but right now the closest one to me is kind of far away in Shenandoah. I mean, like, I can't, with my young kids, devote myself to a program like that. So what was it? But I'm still like, if I'm the oldest person, like, whatever, you know, if I'm passionate about it. So I mean, did that kind of help you?
Well, in some ways, I definitely brought different perspectives to a lot of the classes and experiences that most of these people hadn't had. So it was interesting in that sense. But I also had responsibilities that most of them didn't, you know,
right.
the kids and the family.
Right.
So my program was supposed to be a year and a half. Most people, you know, it's a set sort of course program. And I actually petitioned to take a little bit longer because I was accepted and I started my daughter's senior year, which meant there was going to be a lot of events that I was like not willing to miss.
Right.
So I petitioned to extend the program by, I think, 6 months. I was think I added summer and an extra fall session. So I took a little bit longer. I spread out the classes, and it was great. It was one of the most amazing things really for me. In the end, when I graduated, I was like, I can't believe I just did this.
And your pictures and your graduation, like I was like, oh, this is exciting. It's very, very inspiring. So thank you. Well, I feel like there's more, but I'm mindful of your time, and just thank you.
Part two sometime.
Yeah, thank you
when you run out of guests.
I thank you very much, because I know, you know, it's a little like not knowing, like with Instagram and stuff, and taking a chance to talk with me on this. So, because I feel very honored to be able to spend time with you and hear about your experiences and be able to share it with everyone else, because that's what we're trying to do. So I'm hoping.
Yeah. No, thank you. Thank you for doing this, and thank you for sharing all of the, you know, creative resource information. I think that's huge. I'm super committed to the, you know, less waste mission, and I think you're doing great things for that. So
well, thank you so much for being here. And yes, I will follow up with posting and sending out the links that I mentioned so people can keep following you.
Fabulous. Thank you. Thanks, Ashley.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Bye.